where 6 and 7-figure CEOs build their purpose-driven legacy businesses through proven branding, marketing, and sales strategies so that they don't have to sacrifice their income and happiness for their mission. Thanks for watching the Life School Masterclass show. Join our Facebook group community of badass mission-driven entrepreneurs, and come back next week same place and time for our upcoming show.
All right. Hello, purpose-driven entrepreneurs. Welcome back to another show, another amazing guest. Today, we're going to talk about the top 3 legal considerations when you are first starting your business. I remember my beginning when I first started my business, how this whole area seems to be like a foreign language. So we don't usually know where to start or the things that we need to know that we have to consider. I've invited Jim Hart, trademark lawyer, today, and he's going to talk about just those 3 things. But before we get started, Jim, thank you so much for coming on our show today.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me, Alona.
It's an absolute pleasure. So let's start with an introduction. Can you share some of the most meaningful moments in your particular journey that led you to the work that you're doing now?
Oh, gosh. Is there just one? How much time do you have? So I would say the most meaningful moment for me was my light bulb moment when I realized how much of a need there was in the entrepreneurship space for lawyers that did trademark work. And actually, I was trying to start a side business selling products on Amazon, and I went to a conference, and everyone there found out I was a lawyer, and before you knew it, I walked away with clients as opposed to trying to build my Amazon business. So that was kind of the light bulb moment for me. That happened probably 7 or 8 years ago, and the rest is history, I guess.
Wow, that's really cool, right? Talk about universe, the redirecting you in the work that you're doing now.
Yep.
Thanks so much for sharing. So we have a lot of entrepreneurs here in our audience that are maybe trying to get to those first 6 figures. So what are some of the legal considerations that they should know based on your experience?
So I would say the best place to start. Well, there's like 3 or 4 things that people really need to worry about, and we should talk about those. I can talk about those in order, but I would say trademarks, setting up LLCs, getting your contracts in place, and having your website connected and legally protected as well. Those are the main things I would say that most entrepreneurs that are just getting started, or maybe who have started and are generating some revenue and aren't and maybe haven't done a whole lot legally to protect their business yet, those are the things that they should probably focus on. So I'm happy to take those in any order you want, or if you want me to, I can just tell you what I think the most important things are, like in step 1, step 2, step 3. How do you want to do this?
Yes, I would love to get your perspective on it, since this is the work you do daily. Give us each one of those by priority, and then just give us a little description of each, so we have a little more awareness around what each one of those is.
So I would say, in terms of priority, the first thing is going to be LLC versus trademark. And I say LLC versus trademark because a lot of people get caught up and they're not sure what should they do first. In my opinion, the trademark is the most important thing. If you do not have the money to invest in both of those, I would spend your money and get your trademarks protected. And the reason, why do I say that? I say that because, number one, it's a really long process. It can take anywhere from 12 to 18 months to get a trademark registered. And so it's best to get that started now, and then you can focus on other things related to your business after you get that trademark application filed. The other reason I say that is because if you start running your business, you form your LLC, and you start going down that road of building your business under a brand, but you have not filed that trademark application, then chances are you haven't also done a search to see what other people are out there who could potentially be using the same name that you're using. So you could be building a brand on borrowed property, and that's not something you want to do, because just when you get your business over that peak, and maybe you hit that 6 or 7 figure mark where you're finally making it with your business, that's when you're going to get a cease and desist letter. Those big companies that want to shut you down, they're not going to come after you when you're not making any money. They're going to wait and see that you're making money, and then they're going to send you a cease and desist letter. So that's why I think a trademark is the most important thing. And then the last thing is just because the process of going through that trademark involves doing that comprehensive search. And so you've done that search. Now the next best thing is to go ahead and file that trademark application. And I should mention, the trademark system is a first to file system. So there's only so many names that are out there. And I've seen people that have done searches and the name they wanted to take was filed by somebody else like a week or two before they did their search. So it's something where you really need to get in there and file it as soon as possible. So that's why I always say the trademark is first. And in terms of trademark, basically what you're doing there in terms of a brief description is you're protecting and claiming the naming rights to your brand on a federal level so that you're protected throughout the United States. And if you need to protect yourself in other countries as well, you can do that.
So Jim, if I can ask you a question on this note, so for trademark, so you're saying it's recommended to trademark the business brand name, correct?
Yes.
The business brand name. So for instance, however you are filing your business under LLC or corporation, that is what's recommended to be trademarked. Sometimes I know with this journey of, you evolve in your business, sometimes your business brand name might change. What would you recommend in that case?
So 2 things about what you just said. Number 1, no, we're not talking about trademarking the name of your LLC. That doesn't matter. The name of your LLC is completely irrelevant to whatever it is the brand name is that you're selling under. So you want to trademark the name that you want to be known as in the public. So typically an LLC, the name of your LLC or corporation, that's the name that's going to go on all the paperwork, right? That's going to go on your contracts. That might go in the privacy policy on your website. That's going to go in your terms of service, all those things. That's not going to be the front-facing name of your business. It's typically going to be something different, and that's going to be your brand. So the brand is what you're going to be known by in the marketplace as the source of the goods or services that you're selling. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because sometimes I don't think we always know. I mean, I had to learn this the hard way. That's why I asked that question. Don't always know the difference. We think it's the business name. Okay, cool. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the next thing I would say is the LLC. And the reason why these usually go hand in hand, a lot of people do these at the same time. And the reason for that is you want the LLC to own the trademark at some point. So but you can start out as a you can start out as a solo practitioner. I'm getting tongue-tied here. And that's fine. You can list that as the owner of your brand on your trademark application. And then once you are at the point where you're ready to set up an LLC, you can go ahead and do that. But what's important is if you set up the LLC after you've already filed the trademark application, you need to make sure that you assign the ownership of the trademark to the LLC. The other thing that you should be aware of is the LLC is in place when you file your trademark application and you list yourself as the owner, then you can't do an assignment. At that point, the trademark application is void. So you need to make sure that, and this is beyond the scope of today's podcast, but there's a ton of mistakes I see people make with their trademark application, and that's one of them. And that's actually fatal to your trademark application. But if you set up the LLC later on, you can assign the trademark to that LLC. There's just a little bit more cost involved in doing that.
Okay, great.
So the number 2 thing is obviously setting up the LLC. So I would say that's very important. A lot of people do it for the legal liability protection that it affords. But another huge benefit of having that LLC in place, especially for people in your audience who are reaching that 6- and 7-figure number, is the tax benefits that come with an LLC. And I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, wait a minute, Jim, there's no tax benefits to having an LLC. And that's true. There generally speaking are no tax benefits to having that LLC, except once you have that LLC, you can elect to be taxed as an S corporation. If you're a sole proprietor, you cannot elect to be taxed as an S corporation. So it's really important that once your business starts making over $25,000 to $50,000 of profit per year, you really want to go ahead and make sure that LLC is set up so that you can elect an S corporation tax status, and that's going to save you a significant amount of money at the end of the year when you do your taxes.
Wow, that's an amazing tip because isn't everyone always asking how do we pay the least taxes as you grow into making an impact and the income in your business? Awesome. So that was the number two, correct?
Yep, that was number two.
Okay.
So the third thing I would say, and this I put at the end, but it's probably something that should be up at the beginning, but it's just so easy to do, comparatively speaking. I mean, filing a trademark application is difficult and it costs money. Filing an LLC, it's not so difficult, but it does cost money. But this is something that is really not that expensive, but it's something that you really need to do. And that's, you need to make sure that you have the proper contracts in place for your business. And when you're just getting started, I can hear the groans. They're like, wait a minute, why do I need a contract for my business? Well, here's what you need your contracts for. If you have a website and you're collecting names, email addresses, credit card information, anything like that, you need to make sure you have a privacy policy in place. It's required in all 50 states. It's required in the European Union. You need to have that in place. The number two contract I would say is you need a website terms of service. This basically governs the use of the materials on your website between you and anyone that would visit your website. So if you've got website visitors, you need a website terms of service. The third contract I would say that you need is a terms of sale. So once you start selling products, services, e-commerce, whatever it is you're going to be doing, you want to have that terms of sale in place. That's going to protect you against chargebacks. It's going to protect you against refunds. It's going to limit your liability. It's going to do a whole bunch of other benefits, or it has a whole bunch of other benefits for you and your business in terms of limiting liability. And then the fourth contract I would say that you need is if you're doing freelance work, if you're doing any type of web design or maybe ghostwriting or anything like that, where you're doing freelance work for people, you want to make sure you have a client contract in place. And so those are the four main contracts that I would say you need when you're just getting started.
Hmm. Yeah, thank you so much for specifying those. And it's very, very clear the way that you kind of ranked it and the way you described it. For a lot of people that kind of, it's like, what do I need next? They're probably just gathering information from here and there. And, that's not always the best way. So you seem to have obviously the framework because this is the work that you do on the day to day. Jim, I had a question for you as the business evolves, right? You're making more impact, you're making more income, you're going, above six and beyond. What are some other things that you need to watch out for in a good way to protect yourself?
Well, I think once you hit that level, I mean, you've already got these foundational things in place, right? So once you start to go beyond that, then at that point you need to be monitoring. You need to make sure that nobody's infringing on your trademark once you have that registration in place. You need to make sure, at that point, when you're dealing with higher level clients, you might want to invest into a lawyer drafted client contract. So the contract I was talking about before would usually be for someone starting out, would be a template. You can find a template online. I have a template store, and you can purchase a contract template like that you can use in your business. But as you start to become more advanced, you're probably going to want to hire a lawyer to draft a more customized contract for you. You're going to need contracts for when you start scaling and hiring people for your business. You're going to need an independent contractor agreement. You're going to need disclaimers on your website. You're going to need all sorts of things. You need to make sure you're just complying with general rules every single year. And so what's going to happen is as you grow, there's going to be all these legal deadlines that are going to come up. There are going to be payroll deadlines. There's going to be tax deadlines, because once you become a business owner, you got to pay quarterly taxes. Usually a payroll company can do this. And you've got filings for any organizations you join, things like that. So you really need to make sure all these things are protected. It's kind of an ongoing process. So once you hit over 6 figures, you're going to 7 figures. Now you're starting to talk about maybe hiring a lawyer on retainer who can handle these things on a yearly basis for you.
Absolutely. Well, I love that we covered the foundations because we speak about foundations here very often. And a lot of times in business growth, there's foundational pieces that we do need to help in place in our ecosystem, so that we are, healthy in this area of life as well, for sure. Jim, I want to thank you for everything that you shared with us so far. All the knowledge and information is very, very helpful. What are some of the services that you offer for people that, are crowd resonating with the message or are navigating this area and might not, know where to start, or, maybe they have the trademark going, but they don't necessarily know, what are some other things they need to have as far as the contracts that you mentioned as well. I think that's important.
So I am primarily a trademark lawyer, and I do help people set up LLCs. Usually that goes hand in hand, and with my trademark practice, they hire me to do a trademark. We set up an LLC so that the LLC can own the trademark. But that's primarily what we do. For people that are just getting started, I also have a legal template store, which is a separate business entity from my law firm. It's called One Stop Legal. And I'm sure I can give you the website for that. We can put it in the description, but where people can find their contract templates and things like that for their business. But primarily what I do is I help people file their trademarks and make sure those stay protected.
All right, awesome. And Jim, I usually ask my guests at the end of the show for a final message from their school of life, and then next we'll drive people to where you have your best content stored so they can learn more about what you do.
So we didn't really talk about me personally, and some people know this, other people probably won't. But I recently, my law firm is based in North Carolina. It's a virtual law firm, meaning that I work virtually and run it from here in Portugal. I live in Portugal, in Europe. And so my school of life would be try and get out of your comfort zone and do something that makes you uncomfortable, because when you do stuff that makes you uncomfortable, you grow as a person and you grow in life. And so that's what I would say. So we moved here about 6 months ago. It is by far and away the most uncomfortable thing I've ever done in my life. Scary, not understanding the culture, the language, being far away from family and friends. So, but we've learned a lot. I'm happy to be here, and it's an exciting journey we're on. So that's what I would say. Get out of your comfort zone and do something amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on. I mean, everything else we want is on the other side of fear, and uncertainty is part of that process, right? Even though it's nerve-wracking.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's a great final message for sure. Inspiring and also educating for the audience. Jim, you mentioned you had a YouTube channel, which you're very active in. What is that YouTube channel for people to get more information around these areas?
So my YouTube handle is @Jim Hart. I think that's right. I don't think there's a period or anything in the middle of that. I think it's just @Jim Hart. You can go to that. That's the name of my YouTube channel. And that's where you can find me for tips on coffee, legal tips, trademark tips, entrepreneurship tips, things like that. That's what we talk about on the channel.
Coffee as well? Is that right?
Well, I drink a lot. Maybe I don't give coffee tips, but I drink a lot of coffee on the channel. That's kind of like the shtick that people always ask me about. So they like my coffee mugs.
Oh, that's very, very interesting. I definitely will go and subscribe and support our YouTube channel communities, as we know that's its own community and it's on its own.
Yes,
there.
It is.
Definitely go subscribe to Jim's for coffee tips and law, right? It's more fun than
it's really
educational.
It's really more tips over coffee. Maybe that's the way we do it. I've always got a cup of coffee in my hand while I'm giving my tips. So that's the deal.
Absolutely. Love it. And also your website is on the screen here.
Yep. HawthorneLaw.net. Yep. And if you need a checklist, I will say this. I have a checklist of all the things we talked about today, as well as a whole bunch of other things that you need to do when you're just getting started in business for free. Go to HawthorneLaw.net/ultimate, and you can download that for free if that's something you're interested in.
All right. There you go. There you have it. Well, Jim, thanks so much for everything you shared with us so far. Very valuable information, content. I appreciate it. And I really hope our audience does the same and really gets value out of everything you shared. And continue the journey with Jim on this YouTube channel to hear more tips on this very important area. I say that in business, we have to really be smart with surrounding ourselves with the right people and the right tools and the right resources, so that we have that awareness and education that we're looking for to grow a really healthy, profitable business that makes an amazing impact. Thank you so much, and I wish you a great rest of your day. Bye, everybody. Join our next high-level community event where you will meet over 30,000 purpose-driven entrepreneurs, and you can build meaningful relationships with high-level visionary leaders that will really stem from beautiful conversations, connections, for future brand building, collaborations, and also client attraction. Find out more about the next networking event that we are organizing and join us for free to see if this is a community that aligns with you, your work, and your